This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America on a Sunday morning. I'm Seth Merrow, sitting with Mike Callahan. Good morning, Mike.
What's going on, Seth? How are you?
Not too much. A little bit of handicapping a little bit later in the show. We'll do some other stakes reviews from yesterday. There's some nice stakes action at the various venues around the country, but one of those locations was, of course, Charlestown. Yesterday, I talked with Eric Zimney, the director of racing the VP of racing down there at Charlestown. Did a little preview of the big day, but I thought nobody better to reach out to review a big day at Charlestown than our friend Frank Vespi, the RacingBiz.com. They cover racing in the Mid-Atlantic region, and Frank was at Charlestown yesterday. Frank, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Good to be with you this morning.
Always happy to have you on a big day or after a big day. And oftentimes it's Laurel. Laurel had a big day yesterday as well. We're going to take a look at some of those races a little later on in the show. But I thought we'd kick off the first segment with you talking Charlestown since you were there and just set us up. It's their, biggest day of the year, and I talked with Eric Zimney about it. Things were a little dicey earlier this year as the racing commissioner, or at least one member, wanted to slash the purse, and then the governor got involved and they kept things at the $1.2 million. And I said to Eric yesterday, boy, states like to spend money on tourism, and you can't do better than you guys because you show up every year and cover the race on the Racing Biz. I know Gene Kirshner from the Buffalo News was in town last year to cover. HRRN, friend Mike Penna was down there. Gabby Gaudette was down for Fox Sports. So, $1.2 million buys a lot of coverage. And I think some people realize that in the state government of West Virginia, everything was straightened out. But give us a feel for what the day turned out to be down there.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a huge day for the track. It's a fun day for the horsemen. They've got, they have a whole bunch of state-bred events on the card as well, so there's plenty for the local guys as well as all the ship-ins that come in for the Classic and the Dance to Bristol and whatnot. And I actually, you mentioned the controversy over the purse size for the Classic, and I actually the commissioner who was particularly spearheading that, reducing the purse, is a guy named Ken Lowe, who is from Shepherdstown, which is the next town over from Charlestown, and he was there yesterday, so we were talking a little bit. It's going to be interesting to see what future years hold. I mean, I don't think that the people who want the purse reduced are satisfied with where things are. We'll see how this all plays out, but there is a feeling among some, and I don't happen to share it, but the $1.2 million doesn't make sense when a bunch of the other races on the card were $35,000,
yeah,
and a maiden race goes for $23,000. So I don't think this controversy is necessarily dead. Let's say that.
It'll be interesting to see how it plays out, though, because, again, is Fox Sports going to show up if it's not that $1 million kind of glossy purse? And I think having that kind of exposure that race gets, and again, I talked about it yesterday with Eric Zimney, he concurred. And I had pulled up an article from earlier this year which looked at the controversy a little bit and said, the handle has gone up over the last few years. I think it draws a lot of eyeballs to Charlestown, which I think then translates, you would have to assume, to handle later in the year as people become familiar with the product and think, Charlestown, interesting, never looked at them before, but on the big day you look and you may be attracted to come back again.
I agree with you. I mean, I think that's exactly right. They did 3.3 million yesterday, which was down from the prior years and maybe some of the best years. But 3.3 is a big number for Charlestown. They do 1 million on an average night. So, and you got to look at, there's some talk. Some of the commissioners said things like, well, maybe this should be $1,200,000 races, and I just. That's not going to move the meter.
Yeah.
Nationally, nobody cares about a $100,000 race. They're a dime a dozen. $1 million race isn't. And, there's no way a horse like Diversify comes to Charlestown for a $100,000 race or a $300,000 race because, look, honestly, if you look at this race in comparison to, say, the Pimlico Special, which runs next month and which is $300,000 thereabouts, this race consistently gets a better field. And why is it? It's not because anybody wants to go to Charlestown. It's because the purse is 4 times higher. And I guess I really do. This is one. I'm typically a guy who's more on the horseman side and not necessarily supporting what racetracks always want to do. But this is a case where I completely have drunk the Kool-Aid on this one. I'm with the racetrack here. I think this is a good way to use their money. And another issue here is they don't really have a lot of money in their stakes program. I think it's 8% of the total purse account. Maryland's got like 15 or 16 as a comparison. So the agreement between the horseman and the track is you can take 8%, use it for stakes, do whatever you want for stakes. So I kind of feel like, the place to negotiate that would be in the contract between the horseman and the racetrack, not at the racing commission level.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, and of course we can follow it at the racingbiz.com. All the Mid-Atlantic news. Again, let's go to the day yesterday, and let's kick things off going to the Charlestown Classic. And again, you cover racing in the Mid-Atlantic region, but very often you're over at Laurel or Pimlico or the Maryland tracks. Nice day for the Maryland horsemen, and that was highlighted, obviously, by the results from the Classic. We're going to watch the stretch drive here. I talked to Rick Violet yesterday. I thought Diversify had him over a barrel pace-wise. Well, Diversify did take the lead, but wow, threw out the anchor as the 6-5 favorite and winds up 7th in the field of 7. But something awesome. Edgar Prado on board, a Maryland-based horse, has been racing at Laurel most recently, won the Johnson Memorial in the middle of March. Something awesome. The number 4 horse here gets it done. Over War Story, who was the second choice at 3-2. Fear the Cowboy runs third. But again, a nice win at a, $20 and change mutual for the Maryland-based connections in the Charlestown Classic.
Yeah, it's Something Awesome ran a huge race. I mean, he's a really you and I have talked about this horse previously, Seth, and he's, to me, a really interesting horse. I mean, 6 months ago, he had been racing in Canada. He was racing on synthetic, and he was the absolute definition of just a horse. He'd run almost 20 times, still eligible for a second-level allowance. He's just a horse. Stronach Stables, who owns him, transfers him to Jose Corrales down at Laurel. They put him, obviously, on the main track on conventional dirt. And all of a sudden, now he's a millionaire. He's won 2 graded races. He won the General George in February, comes back and wins this race. I mean, he's good now. And this was a really good effort from him. I talked to Jose. I talked to Jose last week, and then I talked to him, obviously, after the race. And his young son, who's 3 or 4, Pachi, was there, and Pachi had on a 3-piece suit. And I said, Jose, should we have taken it as a sign that Pachi had a 3-piece suit on? He said, well, he's always ready. So, kind of a neat story there. And Edgar Prado, just rode a really nice race, put this horse in all the right spots, and gets up late to win the race. And afterwards, he said something. I can't remember the exact quote, but it was basically like, well, I'm old now, but I could still ride. So good job for them. And as you said, Diversify, really, he got away pretty easy. I mean, he went 48-2 for the opening half mile, but he had absolutely no answer when the running started. Irad Ortiz pretty much just wrapped up on him really for the last quarter mile. So don't know what happened there, but it really was a terrific horse race and a nice win for the, as you said, the Laurel Bay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Frank, you kind of alluded to my question. The top three I thought ran credible performances. Thought Fear the Cowboy, possibly may want to stretch out next time going a little bit farther, but Diversify really got away with those easy fractions like you said. Do you kind of just draw a line through the race saying maybe he just didn't like the track surface?
Yeah, I mean, let's put it this way. He wouldn't be the first horse to come to Charlestown and get to the third turn and say, why are we going around the third turn,
Yeah.
And, I mean, commentator, same deal a few years back. He came in as the big star and, looked good for 2 turns, but the third turn, not so much. And so I'd be inclined to say that. I mean, this is a horse, I will say, he's been in training for kind of a long time without getting to a race. They had been hoping, as I understand it, they've been hoping maybe the Pegasus and then hoping maybe the Dubai World Cup, and now they're here. So he's been probably on go for sort of a while, and I wonder if that might have taken a toll on him too. So I'd be inclined to give him another shot if as a handicapping matter, but obviously this is one where I imagine Rick Violet's got to be scratching his head right now.
Yeah, when I talked to him, I actually talked to him on Friday. We replayed the interview yesterday. He certainly seemed, he was not putting the trophy in the trophy case because I said, pace usually plays well on a track like that. And he said, you know what, I've looked at past runnings of the race, and speed isn't always that great. So he was a little bit, but I think he had a certain level of confidence, and so they had to be disappointed with that. Going to the other side, though, you said you talked to Jose Corrales, the winning trainer. I saw his interview after the race with Gabby Gaudet on Fox Sports. He was getting a little emotional after the race.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different, he's kind of an emotional guy anyway, but there's a lot of kind of moving parts to the story with him. He has been training like the Stronach stables, like 5th string for a number of years, and this horse, when this horse won the General George, that was the first graded stakes win of Jose's career as a trainer. It actually came with Elvis Trujillo rode the horse that day. Elvis is Jose's nephew, and then when he comes back, he wins the Harrison Johnson, and Jose's from Panama. His mother was up from Panama. I mean, so there's like kind of all these different things that come together around the story for him, and Annie's an emotional guy anyway. So it's really kind of a neat story, and he's. They've done great work with this horse, and I think he's hoping that Stronach might find a couple other horses that maybe want to come to Laurel and see what they can do, because he's certainly done a good job with this horse. And I talked to him last Sunday, and I said stretching out, tougher company, this and that. And he said, well, the thing is, I don't want to look ridiculous. I want the horse to run well, and he obviously did more than that, and so really a nice kind of developing story with Jose Corrales and this horse.
Yeah, it was a fun race, and you put $1.2 million, or the purse from a $1.2 million race in the bank. I think you can probably expect to maybe move up to at least a B team. Yeah. B plus team. B plus A minus. All right, let's go a little earlier on the card. The Dance to Bristol was the race right before for fillies and mares. 4 and up, going 7 furlongs down there. It's a 2-turn race. Some familiar faces, certainly to those of us in New York. Rudy Rodriguez brought down Frosty Margarita. That one will finish kind of a disappointing 5th, albeit at 6-1. The favorite was Ascertain with Javier Castellano on board. Ascertain at 3-5 runs 4th in here. But boy, a nice hard-knocking horse from the Mid-Atlantic region, bouncing around. The race before was at Mahoning, had raced at Charlestown back in January, Laurel back in December, and as I say, it bounced around the Mid-Atlantic region. The number 2, what a nice late run from the X-Man. Xavier Perez on board, gets it done. And I'm not sure if you know, Frank, but on the Fox broadcast, you can kind of see a close-up, and the X-Man gives the horse a pat on the neck.
That's what I was just going to say. We were talking about emotions.
But
trainer.
But that exposed the fact that I don't see him holding a whip. Did he drop the whip, or does this horse not run with a whip?
You know what? That's a great question. I don't have the answer to it. I was actually talking to a photographer, Chad Harmon, who was shooting for Blood Horse yesterday, and he was kind of looking at the picture. He said, I thought he was just patting the horse, but I think it might be that he was urging the horse because he didn't have a whip. So I don't know the answer to that.
I'm looking at the chart right now. The chart verifies lost the whip past the 8th pole. There
But I
you
agree
go.
with you, Frank. The second time, the first time it looked like it was more like emotion, like, yes, I won. The second time that I just looked at it, it looked more like he was trying to
without the whip.
simulate a whip.
Yeah,
He was trying to
yeah.
simulate that it was a whip more than it was emotion. But it's one of those questions that's kind of like, either or.
Yeah.
It all worked out in the end.
Yeah, exactly.
This was a cool story. I mean, I thought visually this might have been the most impressive
Oh,
race
yeah.
of the day. I mean, she just exploded through the lane past those horses. And, as an aside, I am prone to exaggeration, Ascertain could have been one of the worst 3 to 5 favorites of all time. I mean, that was a horse that in this group didn't deserve to be the favorite at all, let alone odds on. That was just nuts, and I assume it was just bettors going, Todd Pletcher. Charlestown, he's got to win. But wow, that was nuts. But like Pontchartrain, I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff here too. Xavier Perez rode Dance to Bristol, and that Dance to Bristol, folks might remember, won the Ballerina. Won a Grade 3, then a Grade 2, then the Grade 1 Ballerina at Saratoga several years back. Went to the Breeders' Cup, and really was one of the logical contenders in the Filly and Mare Sprint, although she ran kind of mid-pack ultimately. And so Xavier Perez rode that horse, and that was his first Grade 3, his first Grade 2, and his first Grade 1. So that's a horse that has very special meaning to him. And this year they renamed the Sugar Maple Stakes the Dance to Bristol. So he gets on Lake Pontchartrain and wins the first Dance to Bristol Stakes. So a lot of emotion for him there. Plus, his career kind of went sideways for a couple of years, and now it's just kind of coming back into focus for him. He won a state-bred stake earlier on the card with Anna's Bandit. Then he comes back and he wins this race. So, he's feeling like he's now really back. And so just a lot of sort of emotions for him. And then, like, Pontchartrain is a horse, she's a nice horse wherever she goes, but she loves her some Charlestown. And, she's now won 9 times in 20 starts at Charlestown. She loves this distance. She was obviously a major player in this race. And I asked the trainer, Ernest Haynes, afterwards, who also owns the horse. He claimed this horse for $25,000 a couple of years back. And I said, who were you worried about in this race, coming into the race? And he said, you know what? I wasn't worried about anyone. I didn't think there was any way we could lose here. And
that's what it looked like in the last 16th of a mile. Jeez.
Yeah, but if you watch back to the turn, Xavier Perez is really composed on the turn. He's almost still, he's kind of still standing up midway on the turn. And, when he gets down a ride, it's all over pretty fast. And in a curious move, and you're not going to see this move too often, next start for Lake Pontchartrain is going to be in Oklahoma, because she is an Oklahoma bred, and he's going to Oklahoma for some of the easy money down there.
Oh, nice. Yeah, what, Remington?
Yeah, Remington. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's the
Yeah,
first thing that...
I guess they have a big Oklahoma Stakes Day or whatever, and he's going to take advantage.
Yeah, I don't blame him at all. If you have the opportunity, why not pick up the easy checks? Get the proverbial paid workout, as it were. All right, want to go a little bit earlier on the card, the Robert Hilton Memorial. This one at 7 furlongs, again, a 2-turn, 7 furlongs for 3-year-olds. And it's funny, Frank, I had, again, Eric Zimney on yesterday, and we talked a little bit about the Charlestown Classic. And I said, hey, Eric, I want to go a little earlier on the card. I hope your morning line odds maker is correct, because I am in love with Midnight Poker at 4-1. And Eric laughed and said, yeah, just to let you know, you're the third person in the last 24 hours who has said that. So immediately I said, all right, we're not going to get the 4-1, unfortunately. Nope, it was 8-5, but Midnight Poker does look pretty good. This is now a horse. This makes the record 4 for 4 for the John Service horse. The first 3 starts of the career were all at Parks. Ships out to get a little stakes action down at Charlestown, and you can see we're watching the stretch run, holds off the competition here. Irod Ortiz on board, but it looks like John Service has a nice little son of Smarty Jones, undefeated 3-year-old, maybe in that subdivision of 3-year-old sprinters this year. This one will be a player.
Yeah, it was a pretty nice day, actually, for the John Service 3-year-olds because he wins this race nicely with Midnight Poker. Also won the Tessio at Laurel with Diamond King. Diamond King now going to be headed to the Preakness with the win in the Tessio. So pretty good day for John Service, excuse me, in the 3-year-old set. Irad Ortiz gets 3 wins on the day, wins this one. As an aside, John Service is a Charlestown native, as it happens, although he was not present for the race. But this horse ran, really well. Kind of just took it to them, went to the lead. When they came to him a little bit in the lane, drew away again late, and this is a nice horse, and I think you're right. I mean, I think this is a horse that can make some noise going 6 furlongs, 7/8 or a mile, and it'll be interesting to see how he develops. But clearly, they haven't done a thing wrong with him so far, and John Service knows how to handle a good horse, so it should be fun to see where he goes from here.
And then on sprinters, continuing on sprinters, I wanted to go a couple of races earlier, but we can fold in both the 5th and the 6th race because George Navarro, came in obviously for the big race, but obviously they loaded up the van a little bit as well. And we're going to watch the stretch run of the Russell Road, race 5, the Russell Road at 7 furlongs. The subsequent 6th race, the Cash Electronica, was at 4.5 furlongs, but we're going to watch Shaft of Light come in for George Navarro and win pretty easily. Number 7 horse, chart margin of over 5 lengths. And then in the following race, as I say, he brings in Delta Bluesman. Again, Irad Ortiz on board. That one wins as well. So as I say, a couple extra stalls in the van. Why not pick up some stakes purse money for George Navarro?
Yeah, this racetrack has treated him pretty well the last couple of years. Shaft of Life, defending champion in the Russell Road, wins pretty much for fun here. And then Delta Bluesman. And, Delta Bluesman was, excuse me, he's a different kind of horse than the horses he was seeing here.
Exactly.
He's just a different animal. And they had said, Navarro had said he kind of thought he wasn't as fast as a couple of the locals, Strong Like Bull and Roman Officer, that he would sit off and then go and then make a run. But he just went right to them and then pretty much right on by and won easy. And in a fast time, 50-4 is moving out on that track. Track record for 4.5 is 50.09. And he said afterwards, I thought this was funny. He said, Delta Bluesman is, 8 years old, something like that, 7, 8 years old. I mean, he's an old timer. He's 8, and, he's been kicking around for a while. And it's past his best days, but Navarro said, every time I think I'm going to retire him, he runs a race like this, and I can't, So he's like, I just can't find the right time to retire this horse. So I thought that was kind of funny. But, yeah, his 2 horses here, both with Irad Ortiz, they both pretty much just took it to the competition. Shaft of Light winning easily. I think, to me, the disappointment in the Russell Road was Struth, who was the second choice there. Was fairly close up early and then really just had nothing when it counted and ended up last.
But it was a fun day over at Charlestown. And Frank, before we let you go, maybe the guys in the control room can fire it up. I was going to save it for the next segment, but you kind of alluded to it. And again, you cover Maryland racing regularly. Big day at Laurel yesterday. I just overall want some thoughts on Diamond King. We'll watch the stretch run if the guys get it queued up in the control rooms. Diamond King's going to be the number 6 horse, winning the Tessio yesterday. And I had talked to Rick Violet yesterday, and just so folks know, Split Verdict, his horse, wound up scratching. But Diamond King, he hit my radar with that Heft victory, the stakes race at the end of December. That was a really gutsy performance. Subsequently goes down and tries the Swale. I thought an okay third, but comes back up to Maryland and wins this. And as you said, this race will often produce some Preakness runners. So I think Diamond King becomes very interesting. In that second leg, which...
I agree, and I actually think Holland Park is a horse that I think is farther the better for that horse, and I thought ran a really credible second.
Yeah, Godolphin runner.
Yeah, exactly, the Godolphin runner, and I think seriously has some good high hopes too. I think both of those two could probably point towards that race as well.
Yeah, what was your takeaway from the Tessio, Frank?
Yeah, I mean, certainly Diamond King is, exactly what you said. He came down, he had that disastrous thing happen and when he clipped heels and lost his rider in the Kentucky Jockey Club, but then he came back, he won the Heft at Laurel. He was at that point he was with Butch Reed, and Butch Reed was saying, stretch out, go longer. We're thinking about classics. type races for this horse, back then. Then they transferred him over to John Service, the Swale. He had a bit of a rough trip, ended up third. But this is a nice horse, and he's bred to be a good horse. I mean, he's quality road. He's the $200,000 auction purchase, and after this was a win in your in. So if you're Triple Crown nominated and you win this race, you automatically have a spot in the Preakness. And the Zachney, the owner, Cassius King, said after the race, it's on to the Preakness. So I think they're certainly pointing to the Preakness with this horse, and I'll be curious. I have not yet seen the speed figures. I mean, it's a group, but the horses that were maybe a little more proven in this group, like Still Having Fun and VIP Code, really didn't run very well, and I think may have distance limitations that are a problem for them at going a mile and an eighth, and the other horses that were kind of around at the end are kind of in that. Haven't really proven anything. They're young, still improving. So curious to see how the speed figure comes back here. But certainly this is a horse with some talent, and no reason to think that whether the Preakness is going to end up being a good spot for him will remain to be seen. But there's no reason to think he can't win some more races through the course of the year.
Yeah, whichever way they go, because essentially, as you say, clipped heels in that Kentucky Jockey Club. So this is the first time around 2 turns as well. So that's got to give him confidence. Maybe not the Triple Crown, but again, this will be a nice stakes runner for him going forward.
Yeah, I completely agree. And John Service, the guy's a win machine. And he knows where to put horses and where to get how to get the most out of them. And so every reason to think that this horse is going to show up in some good spots down the road and win some races. And you get a chance to go in the Preakness with a nice horse that you're high on, then you go to the Preakness and you take your shot. This
time of year, if you got a good 3-year-old, you got to take those shots, and then you can sort things out later in the year. If they work or if they don't work, you can figure from there. Frank, we appreciate the visit as always. And again, folks can go to theracingbiz.com for coverage, I'm assuming, of both Charlestown yesterday and Laurel.
So we got ample coverage of both on theracingbiz.com, and appreciate the chance to come talk with you guys about it today. And we had reporters and photographers in both places, so we got plenty of stuff up there if people want to get the recap.
And also, I haven't. It's been a few months since I've tried, but I'll also tout occasionally you toss out some handicapping contests. Those are a lot of fun on the website as well. Do you know when the next contest is coming up?
Yeah, I am targeting the Saturday between the Derby and the Preakness for our next one. What we find is those Saturdays are good days for people. People are playing. That's a good week, and there's not too many things. When people are paying attention to a lot of other tracks, they may not be as excited about our contest if it's Laurel or some local track. But yeah, so we're looking at the Saturday between the Derby and the Preakness for our next move.
Yeah.
So put that on your calendar, Seth.
Yeah, I recommend it. They're a lot of.
You too, Mike.
Absolutely, I'll do it.
They're a lot of fun, free to play as well. So it's a lot of fun. Highly touted. Go to theracingbiz.com and follow every day for coverage of Mid-Atlantic racing. Frank, as always, appreciate the visit. We'll talk again.
Thanks, Frank.
Gentlemen, it was my pleasure. Have a great Sunday.
Frank Vespi, again, theracingbiz.com. Highly recommended. Swing by. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk a little Kentucky Derby. We'll take more of a look at some of those Laurel Stakes races a little bit later on, some handicapping as well.
Also, we're going to recap Woodbine as there was their opening day. I also want to get your view on that controversial DQ. We're going to allude to that.
You want my view.
Yeah, I want to know because I saw that as an added head-on stretch. I was like, oh, Seth has an opinion. Then I watched it, but I've only watched it from the pan so far.
And they made 2 moves. One was okay. One I didn't agree. They moved 2 horses. But we'll look at that.
Exactly,
Stay tuned. Coming up right after this.
Dirty windows? Don't do it yourself. Call Clean Image, your window cleaning professionals, and enhance the look of your business or home without the worry. Clean Image pledges nothing less than 100% customer satisfaction. It's guaranteed. Homes, offices, bed and breakfast, vacation homes, and more. Clean Image has cleaned them all. Carpet and floor cleaning, pressure washing, and janitorial services are also available. Call today, 446-1397. That's 446-1397. Online at clean-image.net.
You know and make better decisions. better choices, to know how to connect the dots. In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool, but not the only tool. Race results and replays, past performances and live streaming, wagering from all your digital devices. These too are important tools, and you'll find them all right here at Capital OTB. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
In a recent study of some of the top online wagering sites, Capital OTB won big in total player rewards, far surpassing some of the best-known wagering sites in America. While other rewards programs simply offer you points redeemable for gift cards, Capital OTB's rebates are paid to you in actual cash. Plus, Capital OTB gives you full and immediate access to your money. So if all you're getting now are points and gift cards, join Capital OTB Player Rewards today and get cash back. Visit CapitalOTBBet.com and sign up today.
This is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on a Sunday morning. Seth Merrow and Mike Callahan. We're going to take a look at some stakes action from yesterday and do a little recap. We just took a look at some of the action over at Charlestown yesterday on their big day, Charlestown Classic Day. $1.2 million up for grabs. It'll be interesting to see what Diversified does next.
I think it's a throwout. I think Frank's right. It's kind of confusing for a horse to go 3 turns. The configuration of the track's a little different. It's a little bit of a deep surface, too. You either love it or you hate it. And some horses relish it, like Pontchartrain, who we talked about. And, it's one of those situations where I think, Rick Violet's going to just regroup and then got to figure out, go back to tracks that the horse likes.
And also being a New York bred, I said that to Rick when I interviewed him, you have all kinds of options. You can go on New York bred stakes if you choose to do that, and maybe that's a spot to regroup and get a little confidence builder back, but we'll see what's next up there. Nice day down at Charlestown. All right, let's take a look. First, have a race from Europe up. A horse called Zarka Mia ran yesterday in Europe, yesterday or the day before in Europe, but regardless, I wanted to show this just because this is an up-and-comer. We'll have to watch this one potentially on the stakes scene in Europe. You'll be able to pick her out in the stretch run, pulls away and wins the race. Just wanted to show this because there is some, you talk about blue-blooded breeding. Zarkava on the bottom side, Frankel on the top side. If you don't remember, Zarkava won the ARC a few years back. Frankel, of course, very nice runner.
She's angling out right now as you're watching. She's going to explode here for their final furlong. Very impressive.
Yeah, career debut, and with that kind of breeding, obviously there were high hopes. And reading some of the follow-up articles, they're pointing for some of the nice races over in Europe a little bit later this year. But obviously they get that one under the belt with again the high hopes. She just maybe wanted to watch Zarka Mia, daughter of Zarkava and Frankel. So again, keep your eyes on that one over in Europe. And I say it a lot of times. So easy to follow European and Australian racing with the internet. Now,
absolutely. We take it. We now have
over
Indian racing as well. We just took that as well, so you can follow 24/7 Australia, Hong Kong. We have Indian races. We have Great Britain in the morning. So it's terrific.
Yeah, always a lot of fun.
And it leads us to our next topic, which is the Derby, because I've been high on Mendelssohn the entire time, and he's a European. So
and. Why don't we hit on a little Derby, just some early Derby thoughts, because leaderboard, obviously after last weekend, the leaderboard is set. It was interesting, the next 4 horses on the bubble are all Steve Asmussen horses.
Including one of yours.
Yeah, Combatant. When we talked, 2 months ago, month and a half, about potential long shots, you threw Mendelssohn, and that was a good pick. I threw Combatant in. Combatant's going to need a little help, though, sitting at number 21 on the leaderboard. But I have said to folks the last couple of weeks, since the prep season 2 weeks ago and then wrapping up at the Arkansas Derby, 2 months ago, this division was in a little bit of disarray. It was hard to really feel confident about anybody. But the last couple of rounds of preps, you look at the top 12 in here, points, going down to Solomini in the 12 spot, but up at top, Magna Moon, Good Magic, Audible, Noble Indy, Vino Rosso, Bolt d'Oro, Enticed, Mendelssohn, Justified, Quip, Flameaway, Solomini. I think that's a solid group going into
and if you look at
the Derby.
The majority of the big prep races, the favorites have come through. I mean,
Yeah.
Magnum Moon, you had Justify.
And that's what we needed.
Exactly,
because,
you needed that. You
yeah,
needed the
that
cream to
middle
kinda
round of
rise
prep
to the
races.
top.
They weren't validating what had happened in the first round, and so we were waiting to see if that last round, and it happened in California with Justify, Magnum Moon, Vino Rosso. I thought was impressive enough that I think the potential is there that maybe a Wood Memorial winner can finally get a Kentucky Derby after a big drought.
Absolutely,
I thought it was
yeah.
a good performance.
Rapoli, I know it's very high on him. I thought that was a really good performance. I know he's been the training partner with Magnum Moon, so those two obviously making each other better as they're winning. A winning machine right now in Magnum Moon and Vino Rosso. We were down there actually on Wood Memorial Day, Sully and I, and we got a chance to see him in person. Big colt that really seemed to relish the distance. Really got a clean trip. I had been high on him down at Tampa Bay when he ran in the.
A lot of people, yeah.
Yeah, and he was one of those horses that I just touched upon as saying, when he's right, he's going to be really good.
Yeah.
You have to catch him when he's right. And you caught him at a really good price that day at One Memorial Day. Entice was a horse that was kind of confusing to me, hot and cold, runs a really good race, then just can't repeat that going forward. But he's one that's going to be in that middle tier that could be an interesting price as well. I think Hofburg is an interesting play.
Yeah.
As a little bit of a long shot if people are looking for long shots. Yeah,
And Hofburg sits number 19 on the list. And the list of points doesn't necessarily reflect odds or anything. I talked a little bit, and I think I do still have it linked on Equidaily. John White, the morning line odds maker at Santa Anita, came out, and Steve Bick put it on his Twitter feed. So I have a link to it, kind of a morning line for the Kentucky Derby. So you get an idea of the odds there. But as you go down this leaderboard, just using that as the map, and with Combatant sitting at number 21, if he gets in, I'm not sure about Gronkowski, but as opposed to compared to other years, there's nobody on this list that would be a real shock to me. Certainly not to hit the board, but
Right.
even to win, I don't know whether there's any really shocking horse. And typically you get down the list a little bit. There's a couple that I think would be a little bit of a... And Combatant, I will say, I've been on board him for a while now. I'm not really married to him necessarily if he gets in on the win end, but I certainly think he could hit the board.
Oh, absolutely. Gronk's going to take money now. Gronk actually, Rob Gronkowski, the football player, actually bought into this horse now. The name's just going to take a lot of money, so maybe good for horse players who completely want to write him off, as a horse that's going to be a money eater. He's a horse that got the invite over, is going to, potentially go over. Flame Away is an interesting horse.
Yeah.
I think Flame Away is going to be huge odds, and that's a horse that time and time again is just gutsy. If you're talking about mentally tough horses, some of these horses are more talented physically, but mentally they don't have it yet. Flame Away to me is the most mentally tough horse going into this Derby. Yeah. Him and Bolt de Oro.
Which counts for something on a big day,
on a day like that,
people.
Because I was talking with Brian Netto on Friday, and he really doesn't think too much of justifying the race at the price you're going to get. Mostly because he's 3 for 3, and every single chance he's had has been his own wheelhouse. What if he doesn't break right? What if he gets squeezed? We don't know all those theories that possibly happen. Do you want to take that chance on a short horse price, or do you want to go for a long shot? And that's the great part of the Derby. We'll talk about it at all the seminars that we're going to do, but there really are different aspects to each part of these horses, odds, and all the scenarios to try to figure it out. That's the great part.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, and as I say, I think it's turned out now as we've gotten closer and closer to be a really strong field. We'll see. We'll know the 3-year-old crop better as we go through the Triple Crown and get into the summer, but at this point, it looks like it's a pretty strong group, a fun group at the very least. All right, let's go back and take a look at some of those stakes from Laurel and a couple from Woodbine as well. We took a look at the Tessio earlier. The Clark was also on the card yesterday, a mile on the turf. The favorite was Ring Weekend from our friends at West Point. He disappoints running 7th in the field of 12 at 8-5. The winner was the second choice. Yeah, second choice at 6-1. A big field of 12, so things bounced up after the 8-5 favorite. Caribou Club, second choice, goes out for Tommy Proctor. Caribou Club is going to be the number 5 horse. Dr. Mounty, the 14, runs second at 14-1, and at 8-1, Flash Phelps, the 12, runs third. But as you can see here, a nice late run under Paco Lopez. Caribou Club gets it done.
And really, if you just looked at the top of the stretch, Paco Lopez was very aggressive in what he was doing. He was kind of hovered behind horses that were kind of falling back, and I just thought it was all Paco. He's a very aggressive rider. Everybody knows that, and he reason why that horse was able to angle, down onto the rail, get past those horses that were weakening. And I thought it was an excellent ride to get the job done.
Yeah, and this race typically produces some nice turf runners as the year goes along as well, so we'll keep our eyes open for some of those performers. Also wanted to show, we showed the Tessio earlier, but as is typical on big days, if you have a 3-year-old boys race, you'll have a 3-year-old girls race, and the Weber City Miss was for the 3-year-old fillies going 1 mile and a 16th, and it's going to be Good One Honey, the number 1 horse, getting it done. Only the second career start. First start was at 6 furlongs and was for a maiden tag, although she was in for a waiver that day. Comes back and wins in the second start, first stakes race, first start around 2 turns, wins by 7 lengths. She might be a nice little 3-year-old filly.
She was very good. You have to point to her, probably the Black-Eyed Susan, you would think.
Yeah.
She was excellent. Going 2 turns for the first time, she never showed any signs of faltering late. She actually looked like she was getting more energy as she crossed the wire. So I think the connections have to be really high on that. Probably look towards the Black-Eyed Susan, you would think, based off that performance, but we'll see.
Shamrock Rose ran 3rd. That was the 8-5 favorite from Mark Cassie. Just got 3rd by a nose in there, but certainly was no match for the winner. Again, being only the second career start, Good One Honey. Have to pay attention to that one going forward. So some nice stakes down at Laurel yesterday. Now let's go up to opening day at Woodbine. And yes, the controversial Wando. I was in here doing OTB Live. I liked Mocktree. I had Mocktree on top. Mocktree, the number 7 for Mark Cassie, will make a nice run in the stretch to win or come under the wire first. Inge runs second to 4. Number 6, Tale of Vienna, 3rd. And Tito Chip runs 4th. Piper's Warrior. You can see here the horse you can see number 7 coming, and the horse right on the left kind of pulls up. The 6 horse comes out. I'm not sure Mocktree comes in so much to bother the horse that winds up running 5th. Well, they wind up moving the 6 behind that horse. And then I think subsequently they must have decided, because we'll watch the head-on, and you see Mocktree, kind of the back end of Mocktree, hits the number 6, Tale of Vienna. So I think they decided, well, the 6 bothers the 1, so we'll put the 6 behind the 1, and the 7 bothers the 6. But watch here. The 7 is clearly better than the 6. The 7, you see a little something there, but he's by the horse by that. So to me, as I was talking about the race, and they looked at it for a long time, I said, I don't think the 7's coming down. I don't think this really has any. So I was shocked when they took down the 7.
On the first initial infraction, it was the 6.
That one I have no problem with.
The second one, to me, may not primarily be the 6. It may be the 5 who was trying to go in between horses and actually improve position. The 7 came into the 6, squeezed the 5, who then had to pull back. To me, that's where the infraction kind of came in. And it cost the 5 potential positioning. He wasn't going to win the race. In the end, the 7 was still going to win the race, but there were 2 infractions, which makes it so confusing, because in the first infraction, the 6 is the primary horse that causes the havoc.
You see the 1 pull up, and I think something happened there, and to me it was the 6 coming out.
Yeah, there was a horse, though, right next to the 6 when the 7 was coming through that was trying to squeeze through, and that was the 5, and there's potential that he could have actually been forwardly played. He could have finished 3rd in that race, but because of the 7 coming over and then kind of chain reaction into the 6, that may have caused it. But again, I didn't see the race until the race replay last night when we were going over the agenda. So
it was interesting, and it was complicated with 2. And I was sitting in there doing the show. I never saw that typical right after the race. The announcer comes on. Here's the review of how the decision was made or what the decision was. They never did that to really explain it. So it was interesting. But to me, it was not a good call against the winner. The 3rd place horse, I could see moving that one down, but against the winner, not so much.
Rarely do you ever see a double DQ. I mean, it has to happen, once
and
every 10,000 races maybe.
I thought it was just between the 7 and the 6, and so I said, they're not going to do anything. And it took a long time, and then when I saw them move them both down. And also they showed the pan shot, and that's when I saw the horse in the back kind of have to pull up. So I kind of said, maybe there's a little something more here. There was. A little something more. But as I say, to me, Mocktree was the best horse in the race, and I think I wouldn't have taken Mocktree.
It was it's tough. It was one of those tough situations where you knew you were on the best horse, but a lot of bumping down the stretch. It was, to me, it was probably 50-50 going into it.
Mark Casse comes out knowing he's got a nice horse in Mock Tree, but Inge, nice horse for Norm McKnight as well. And I say Inge, to me it's Inge, and as we talked to Keith McCalmont yesterday, I think he was pronouncing it Inge. I think the announcer pronounced it Inge.
Yeah, Inge.
And then the post-race interview was Inge. So I have no idea. It was, 3 different pronunciations. I'm sticking with Inge. It looks like Inge. I'm going with that, although typically I go with the announcer, and I meant to pull up some other replays from the horse, but we'll see as the year progresses. With this horse sticking up in Canada, we may have to go with Robert Geller because he'll have 2 or 3 more shots at it.
Yeah, we'll be up there a couple of times as we got our sponsorship with them again. So
speaking of Woodbine, and of course we want to thank them for their sponsorship of this program. Woodbine, pick, bet, and cheer on great racing north of the border, and there was plenty of that yesterday on opening day.
Including the horse of the year?
And yeah, I wanted to show the Cartier just because it was the return of Pink Lloyd, who Thursday night was named the 2017 Canadian Horse of the Year, went 8 for 8 last year. All stakes races. Would he get it done again? Pink Lloyd is the one horse here in the seasonal debut, fresh off being named Horse of the Year in Canada. Looks pretty good in the seasonal debut to continue the win streak and start a new one seasonally.
Off the layoff track record, they went 108.
Yeah, you're right, track record.
Yeah, so it was one of those situations where if maybe you didn't think he was going to come back with this next year campaign, he's still in very, very good form. Very impressive. Wynn was able to sit just off of the speed, get the lead at the top of the stretch, hold off a nice closing horse in that number 2. But nonetheless, just unbelievable performance. 9 for 9, and all of those being in stakes company too. So that's quite impressive.
Yeah, fun on a fun opening day up at Woodbine. So it was, the opening day you get the Horse of the Year show up. Nothing wrong with that. All right, we'll take another break. When we come back, we'll do a little handicapping for Sunday afternoon. 2 weeks ago when you were in, our handicapping was pretty good. So we'll see if we can continue that trend.
There's a 3-day pick. There's a 3-day pick 6 carryover today.
Pick 5 carryover in New York. The late pick 5 carried over yesterday.
So I took a look at 3 at Keeneland because there's $1. It's the minimum's $1 pick 6 at Keeneland. So it's a 3-day carryover, 68,000 right now. So it's definitely worth jumping into. Hopefully we give away a couple of selections when we come back.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. So all of that right after this. Stay tuned.
This is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Sign up today for Capital OTB's handicapping series and plan your trip to Las Vegas.
In a recent study of some of the top online wagering sites, Capital OTB won big in total player rewards, far surpassing some of the best-known wagering sites in America. While other rewards programs simply offer you points redeemable for gift cards, Capital OTB's rebates are paid to you in actual cash. Plus, Capital OTB gives you full and immediate access to your money. So if all you're getting now are points and gift cards, join Capital OTB Player Rewards today and get cash back. Visit CapitalOTBBet.com and sign up today.
Funding your Capital OTB Bet account is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Easy Money. Clearly the fastest and easiest method of depositing funds into your account. Make deposits or withdrawals in just minutes. 2. Green Dot Money Pack. Gives you instant access to your funds. Green Dot Money Packs are available at thousands of retailers nationwide. And 3. MasterCard Visa. Simply click on the link from the funding page, enter your account information, and fund your account. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on a Sunday morning. Seth Merrow and Mike Callahan. Fun show so far. Took a little review of Charlestown yesterday with our friend Frank Vespi. We talked some Kentucky Derby. We looked at some of the other stakes action from across the country and north of the border as well. Opening day at Woodbine yesterday, so we looked at a little bit of their stakes action. Now, preview of Sunday afternoon. We'll give some ideas for some of the action. As Mike said, carryover at Keeneland, and I just looked it up, and it was a $48,000 late pick 5 carryover at New York. So 50-cent increment, the late pick 5. Also interesting, the late pick 5. We can now bet via the Capital OTB bet website. More information on how to do that at
you can actually go to capitalotb.com, click on the NYRA Late Pick 5 image. It'll redirect you to FastBet Mobile, and then from there it'll ask you for your account and your PIN. Sign in through that. You'll be able to play the NYRA Late Pick 5 here at Capital OTB through the internet. So take advantage of that. You can also do it at branches and through the phone as well. So with the carryover, there's a lot of money to be made. There's also a carryover at Keeneland, which I'll touch upon in a second.
People will jump in today, no question about it. All right, you'll take a look at some Keeneland action. I'm going to take a look at a little Aqueduct and Woodbine. Let's kick things off. The 4th at Keeneland on Sunday afternoon is an allowance non-winners of one other than. In the 4th at Keeneland, 5.5 on the grass.
Yeah, this will kick off that pick 6, a $68,000 carryover, 3-day carryover. So take advantage of that. $1 minimum for that pick 6. I like 9, 4, 6, and 1. It does look tough to get past the 2 Wesley Ward horses in here. The number 9, Chipolina, going out for Wesley Ward, who's been unbelievable. Him and Chad Brown have just been absolutely dynamite down at Keeneland. He's 9 wins and 31 starts. Half of them have been first and second place performances. This horse broke the maiden first time out back at Saratoga on closing weekend. Very impressive. Beat a horse named Radiant Beauty, who came back to win next time out, So that should only flatter this horse. Off the layoff, the works have been really sharp, 9 to 5. You get Johnny V aboard, who's going to be aboard a couple today at Keeneland. You have to believe that this horse is going to be tough. Underneath the number 4, also Wesley Ward horse. If you're trying to format your pick 6, I think the 4 and the 9 to me you just have to go too deep in here. Elizabeth Darcy is another one for Wesley Ward. Broke the maiden first time out of Indiana, then he takes a bunch of his horses, goes to that Ascot Carnival. Horse finished 6th, but a close-up 6 to a couple nice horses in Sounds of Silence and James Garfield. Last time out we saw this horse was on Breeders' Cup weekend. So showed some speed, ended up finishing 6th, only beaten 2.5 off the freshening. Wesley Ward, again, we already touched upon his stats. The blinkers are going to go off for this horse, and I think that's going to be the recipe for success. Expect this horse to be on the lead, and I think it's going to be tough to run down late. And then if you're looking for a little bit of a long shot, number 6, Vanilla Cat, Steve Asmussen and Ricardo Santana Jr. are going to team up. This horse won the maiden at Kentucky Downs back in September. Last time finished an even performance last time down at Fairgrounds, but to me, if there's a lot of pace in here, this could be the horse running late at some big odds. And Ricardo Santana and Steve Asmussen have teamed up to win 22% so far in 2018. So if you're looking for a little bit of a long shot to go 3 deep in here, I sat 9, 4, 6, and 1.
And you kind of have to wonder, I'm just looking, he's got Chipolina here and Autostrad
yes,
in the
that's another
7th
one.
race. And I'm just wondering, is it possible? I'm looking up Autostrad. Well, they're both. I'm wondering if he has an eye to the future with both of these. They both have only one start under their belt, Wesley Ward and Todd Pletcher. So some potentially nice-looking little 3-year-olds going forward. Otherwise, why does he leave New York? Because he was riding in New York yesterday.
That's the scenario, and we were talking about this.
He doesn't have a stake smile on the
Sully
card.
and I talked about it. Flavien came from west to east on a big day. Why do these jockeys? That's really another piece of handicapping that you have to take advantage of.
In a situation
these guys aren't
like
coming
this,
in for nothing. They're coming in because they're high on the horses, or they were told that these horses are going to perform well. So, you obviously have to work out a trip and everything, but still, Johnny V being on both of those horses, those are his only 2 months of the day.
Yeah, that's
you
the
have to
interesting
believe.
thing. He's not coming in for a stakes race. He's coming in for 2 horses.
Exactly. So
with
that's
only
why I
one
try
starter.
to allude to that. So that's sort of the situation. Neil Drysdale came in on a couple horses about a week ago at Keeneland. Why would he come in?
Yeah.
He won on one that paid $16. So again, you got to kind of peel back the layers and figure out what is really going on. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. That's a very competitive race. We'll see what happens. You're going to talk about the Aqueduct 9th right now. It's a state-bred optional claimer. They're going to go 6 furlongs.
And again, that late pick 5, $48,000 carryover at Aqueduct. So we'll toss in a couple of races in that sequence. In the 9th, I have it 9, 5, 8, and 11. I put Long Haul Bay on top. It's Chad Brown. The question mark here is the layoff. Will the horse come back ready? But it's Chad Brown, steady string of workouts underneath. None of them jump off the page, but it's a steady string. And this is a horse that, a nice little New York bred, that showed some real talent last year, broke the maiden in the career debut in February 2017, comes back in the Bayshore against Open Company, wins that, and then tries the Woody Stevens in June of last year, tosses in a little bit of a dud and goes to the sideline. So obviously there were some problems, but moves back into the state bred ranks, looks to be in a cozy spot after the last couple of starts earlier last year, of course, but the last couple of starts against Open Company stakes runners. So 2-1 on the morning line. I think this horse is going to float down, but again, if you're playing that pick 5, clearly belongs on the ticket, and probably the horse to beat. But again, there are question marks, so if you're going to play around and want to find some value potentially on that pick 5 ticket, Blue Belt at 9-2. Rudy Rodriguez runner, tried this kind of company back in August and October. Didn't do much, but both of those were on the turf. Subsequently moved back to the dirt, and the last couple of races have been okay, including that last one, a nice win. But it was a 50,000 conditional claimer. So this company is maybe a little bit tougher, but it just looks like a Rudy horse that's in good form with Irod Ortiz on board. Sal the Turtle in the third spot. Sal the Turtle, Steve Asmussen runner that, much like my top pick, hasn't been seen since last year, but boy, showed some really, really nice talent earlier in the career. 3 wins and 6 starts, and that includes some stakes performances that were very good. The overall record. Sal the Turtle, again, like the top pick, question mark potentially on fitness, but boy, that back talent, forget 10-1 that the morning line is showing. Also, Rajiv Marat on board, back from his sojourn to Southern California. So Rajiv, happy to have him back. He's always he's a nice guy. B, he's a talented jockey, so we wish him well on his return to New York. Had a pretty good trip to Southern California, but he said he just wasn't getting the kind of mounts that he would like to have gotten. Well,
he had the connection with David Jacobson as David Jacobson rerouted out there. So I think he was trying to get his foot in the door through there.
Yeah, and you'll want to wind up in some of the big races, and so he wasn't getting those kind of mounts. And I think, knowing what he did in New York, he probably felt the best career path just to come back to New York. So again, we'll wish the best for him going forward. In that ninth at Aqueduct, I have it 9, 5, 8, and 11. All right, fun little race coming up in the Keeneland 5th. Maiden specials going 6 furlongs, field of 9 scheduled. What did you see in Keeneland's 5th?
I saw it 7, 6, 5, and 8, but the 7 may be beatable in this spot. That's the 7, Abounding Joy. 7-5 on the morning line. You're getting a Flandreau aboard. This horse finished second, a distant second to a runaway winner, was beaten 11 1/4. So it's always a little tricky to figure out, is that second place performance really that good to a runaway winner? The dam was 3 for 8, so it has a little bit of ability. I think this horse maybe is eligible to win, but if you're looking in the pick 6 sequence, I like the 6 and the 5 a little bit at some odds. 8-1 for both of those. Number 6 is Glitz and Glamour. Out of Awesome Patriot, who was 3 for 7 lifetime. The dam, 7 wins in 23 lifetime starts, so you have to like that. The workouts have been really sharp, and I like the fact that the trainer, who doesn't have a start here at Keeneland, is bringing this horse into this spot because it is quite competitive. So you may be pretty high on this horse at 8-1. I take a shot with this horse. And then underneath the number 5, Daisical, going out for Wayne Catalano. Channing Hill is going to be aboard. I like the solid workout pattern. Fort Lardon as a sires, 10% with first-time starters. The dam was also a 6-time winner. So if you're looking, the 7 looks quite logical in this spot, and I wouldn't be shocked for this horse to win. That's why I have him on top. But underneath, the 5 and the 6 at big odds, 8-1 for both of those horses, I think are very eligible first time out for both connections in here. So I saw it 7, 6, 5, and 8. All right, Seth, you're on to the Aqueduct 10th. It's a maiden special weight. They're going to go 6 furlongs on the grass.
8, 9, 7, and 6. The 8 is Too Much Data. Pretty good looking debut for Alan Goldberg. That was on March 1st down at Gulfstream. It was a maiden claimer, however. That's the caveat, but it was good looking. Given that I could go in other directions, I'm not using the Jeremiah horse. The Jeremiah horse scares me, but the first-time turf for Throw the Fade, of course, owned by August Dawn Farm. That's Bill Parcells, so hence the name. And I may regret not having the one in the mix. The 4-horse Metaphorical, the 5-horse, another Linda Rice runner. So you can go in a lot of different directions. And again, with the move from maiden claimer to maiden special weight, that's the opposite of what you like to see as being potent. But I just thought the career debut was pretty good. And given that scenario, I kind of look at this as a confident move up. Hey, this horse proved to us maybe better than we thought in the career debut, running for the 40 tag. So we'll put too much data on top. Second slot, we will go with Overnight Success. Yet another one making the second career start. This one for Jason Service. They were in an off-the-turf event for the career debut in September down at Parks. I think getting to the turf with a son of Giants Causeway. Now, this is a 4-year-old son, so obviously there have been some problems in that this is only career start number 2 for a 4-year-old. But went off as the favorite in that career debut. Not going to shock me at all if we get a very good effort. In the second start, seasonal debut, a little added maturity in the move to the grass. Overnight Success in the mix. Hangman, a first-time starter by Scott Daddy from Linda Rice. And Sparky. I like Jimmy Toner on the grass, and I think with this horse getting a start down at Gulfstream on the dirt, maybe got a little education from that one, and Shanghai Bobby on top. Again, Jimmy Toner in the mix. I think potentially Sparky could be a little bit of a player in here at a price. So in the 10th and final at Aqueduct this afternoon, 8, 9, 7, and 6. And again, that'll wrap up that late pick 5. All right, Mike, you got have the 8th race at Keeneland. That is on the grass. Again, it's allowance non-winners of 1 other than. And boy, is it on the grass. It's on the grass for a 1.5 miles.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to, because Chad's been so good down at Keeneland. 10 wins and 20 starts. He's been absolutely dynamite. He's got the 11 in here, focus group. Wouldn't be shocked I have that horse in second. I went 2, 11, 10, and 5. I like the 2, Zamari, going out for Michael Stedham. Anna Besheza, who's underrated and I think is going to be a person that, jockey-wise, that's going to be getting his name more and more known as time goes on. This horse, go back and watch the replay, ran on opening day here at Keeneland to open up things, was completely blocked mid-stretch trying to close into it, was able to angle out late, but it was a little too late, finished third, beaten 2 3/4. Thought that was a really solid performance, comes back in short time. I like to see that. I think the trainer, Michael Stedham, sees that he has a lot in this horse, and I think with a better pace setup and a better trip, not being blocked, I think you could get a really nice price at 6 to 1 on the morning line. Underneath, focus group, the number 11. Wouldn't be shocked. Chad Brown, Jose Ortiz team up in here. This horse has all the back class, but is coming off of a little bit of a layoff. The works have been sharp, but again, one of those situations where Chad's been so good, may be tough to look elsewhere in here. And then the 10 at a little bit of a long shot. That's Glad Moon, 12 to 1 on the morning line. You're going to get Jack Gilligan aboard from Michael Dickinson. This horse broke the maiden last time out at Woodbine. That was on the synthetic. It's back onto the turf. Goes a little bit longer and has the pedigree to want to do that. So we'll see if the 10 can get the job done in here at 12 to 1. I saw it 2, 11, 10, and 5. All right, we're going to take a look at the Woodbine feature today. It's the Queenston. It's race number 8 at Woodbine. And what'd you think, Seth?
I have it 7, 6, 4, and 3. Let's see if Mark Casse can get across the finish line first and hold on to a victory in the Queenston. Blue Blood on top, Fox Hill Farm and Mark Casse. This horse, a couple of starts last year on the synthetic at Woodbine, won both of those. Tried a little turf stake at Tampa last time. That was off a July layoff for that March start. So I'm going to give the horse a little bit of a pass there. Returning to Woodbine where the horse is 2 for 2. I think Blue Blood is set up well this afternoon in the Queenston. Sable Island in the second slot. Hasn't been seen since December, trying the display. I think that was a tougher field. It was also 2 turns as compared to the 7 furlong sprint. So I think getting back to the sprint this afternoon will be beneficial. And then Wandafer, the number 4 horse in the third spot, broke the maiden in November. Hasn't been seen since then. Was working down in South Carolina at Aiken, kind of interesting, but comes back off a workout just a week and a half ago up at Woodbine, which is pretty good. Seems to be in okay form. And again, that maiden breaker at the end of last year looked pretty good. So in the Queenston, the 8th race at Woodbine today, 7, 6, 4, and 3. All right, that brings us to the end of the program. Before we wrap up, I want to hit you with some of the promos here. The 2 that I want to mention are mark your calendar events. May 2nd, Wednesday, we will be at the Diamond Club Grill up in Saratoga, Hilton Embassy Suites. It's about a block off of Broadway, right across from Congress Park. You'll see Congress Street go up that, as I say, about a block and a half. You will not miss the Embassy Suites, the Diamond Club Grill. Our 3rd year, should be a lot of fun. Kick off the happy hour 5:30, that area, and then a little while later we will set up the Derby seminar. Brian Nadeau and myself will be there. Also, trainer Jim Bond joining us for a meet and greet. Should be a lot of fun. Wednesday, May 2nd, up in Saratoga. And then the annual Capital OTB Derby seminar right here at the Clubhouse Racebook on Thursday, May 3rd. Can't wait to talk a little Derby. Hopefully we see a lot of you down here for that event. Again, Thursday, May 3rd, here at the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany.
And then also, as you can see right there on the screen, we still have reservations available at the Clubhouse. Stop down, reserve your seat, $5 per seat, $20 per table. And again, it's filling up fast. Great spot to watch it. I've been here for the last seven. We actually put every TV on the Kentucky Derby. We jack up the volume. We really want to put you in that really cool atmosphere, and it's really terrific when they open the gates and the 20 horses are running. It's jacked up. Every TV's on there. It's really fun stuff. So get your seat down here at the Clubhouse Racebook, as reservations are filling up quite fast.
And don't forget to fill up the building also for Friday. We're putting together a little piece that we'll be showing here at the Clubhouse Racebook. I interviewed Roddy Valenti yesterday, and he was quite excited. Coach rocks with a big workout over the Churchill Strip yesterday for trainer Dale Romans and Roddy and Rick Pitino and our friends at West Point Thoroughbreds. She's going to be a real contender in the Kentucky Oaks.
And we're going to have Coach Rock's Day here at Capital OTB. We're going to have it here at the Clubhouse Racebook, giving away dollar win bets on her. It's terrific, to have someone that we know so well that's in that spot, and a horse that really has a shot.
Yeah.
I mean, she really has a shot. She's improving so much, and we got a chance to talk to Roddy a couple weeks ago, and he was still on cloud 9, and it's exciting. It's exciting around here, and we're always obviously rooting for him as he goes to the Kentucky Oaks with her.
I said to him, in any sport, you like to root for the home team, and Roddy's our home team.
Yeah, it really is, and to see that, and I remember I was actually at my friend's restaurant. He just opened a new restaurant, and I was watching Coach Rocks win that Florida Oaks, and I jumped up and down, and he was like, "What are you doing? What's going on?" I'm like, a good friend of ours at Capital OTB just won.
Yeah,
and I wanted to let Roddy know that wherever we are, we're always rooting for him.
Yeah,
so.
I made it into the winner's circle because I wanted to get a little audio interview because we were doing some cut-ins, some call-ins that afternoon, and so I went in the winner's circle, and it was insane with the folks from West Point, Roddy and Coach Pitino, and of course Dale and some other folks smiling as well. Our friend Dave Harmon, the photographer, was down there covering Florida Derby Day, and so there was a lot of locals and a lot of smiles in there. And again, we'll wish them all the best in the upcoming Kentucky Oaks. All right, Mike, we'll wrap things up for Sunday morning. We've given you some ideas for Sunday afternoon. I'll be back in a couple hours with OTB Live, talking about some of the Sunday afternoon action as well. Anything else you want to add?
No, just the promos for this week. We're going to have a $100 online harness contest on Thursday. We're also going to have fan appreciation at O'Toole's on Thursday, so stop by O'Toole's from 1 to 5 and take advantage of that. The Bounty Bet's going to be back on Friday. It's going to be attached to the Late Pick 4 at Woodbine, as we thank them again for their sponsorship of this program and a lot of content and promos that we're going to have here. So it's going to be attached to Late Pick 4 at Woodbine. Again, 20-cent minimum multi-race wagers. So take advantage of that. You can really make a good score and not having to invest too much. It's always great, and we always thank Woodbine for their sponsorship as well. We're also going to have fan appreciation at Cleats out in Utica. So want to take advantage of that. That's this Saturday. It'll run from 12 to 5. Again, first 50 get $2 bet vouchers, give away items, programs.
Out there, right?
Yeah, you and I were out there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we did the bankrolls on the road.
Yeah.
It was good. It's a great location. Yeah. Great location. Great people out there. So stop by Cleats on Saturday as well.
All right, we're going to wrap things up. Again, thanks to our friends at Woodbine for their sponsorship. Woodbine, pick, bet, and cheer on world-class horse racing north of the border. Day 2 at Woodbine. Before we go, we'll lead it into the end of the program. We're going to say goodbye, but I pulled up a little video, and the guys in the control room fired it up. Robbie Davis back in the saddle. 50-something-year-old Robbie Davis, the patriarch of the Davis jockey clan, Dylan, Katie, and Jackie. I think that's got to be somewhere in the future. All 4 Davis, maybe up at Saratoga. That would be great.
If they could get,
that would be fabulous.
Yeah, that would be like a family race. That would be tremendous.
But Robbie Davis back in the saddle, and Maggie Wolfendale had a post-race interview with him. Unfortunately, he lost the iron at the start. He said he got tired at the end. It wasn't necessarily a storybook ending to race number 1 of the comeback, but you can see Robbie was very happy to be back in the saddle. We wish him the best. And as I say, this was middle of last week. Robbie Davis on the comeback, a post-race interview of Maggie Wolfendale. We'll send it to the end of the program with that. Again, I'll see you in about a couple of hours for OTB Live, and we'll be back in here for more Racing Across America next weekend. Thanks for joining us.
Robbie Davis, after first start back in nearly 5 years. Robbie, you scared us a little bit coming out of the gate, but how did it feel to be back in the saddle?
Oh, it felt fantastic. I was just like questioning myself the first 5 jumps. I mean, I couldn't get my iron. I lost my iron. He broke well, and then he ducked in really sharp, and I came off the side. I was just testing my skills a little, I guess, and I got my iron back and made a little run up there and got tired. But
I was going to say, who was more tired, you or Dublin Creek?
Definitely me. Definitely me. But I know that I'm going to need a couple, and he's probably going to need a couple, so it's a good combination.
And Robbie, this is a horse you own and train, and obviously you want to try to ride for other people too. So which have you liked? You've done it all.
Yeah, you know, I've been a groom, a hot walker, an agent, you know, an owner and a trainer. And being a jockey was the best and most successful. So, you know, while I have a couple of years left in my youth, I think I'd like to give it another try.
And this is something that I read you said you would regret if you hadn't done.
I'd take it to my grave if I didn't do it, and I didn't. Now is the time. So I'm trying as hard as I can, and I just got tired of sitting on the couch watching all them kids ride, you know.
Smiling from ear to ear here, I'm sure you're feeling good.
I feel excellent. I feel better than I ever have, like in the last 20 years. I don't have any pain, and I'm healthy. I feel super, you know. So I'm like, well, I'm gonna do this. This is fun.
Well, Robbie, it was fun watching. You certainly have a fan club out here, and best of luck.
Thanks, Maggie.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.